In this video, I'll show you how to take the photos you have stuck in your computer or your phone and turn them into a cool street art inspired portrait. I'll actually show you how I created the painted background using some found paint and brushes you might have stored in your garage, and then we'll bring it into Photoshop where we'll treat the background image and the photo on top. So let's get moving. You can use any colors that you have laying around or paints that you have on hand. You can use oil paints or you can use watercolors. It really doesn't matter. I'm using acrylic paints and I'm just using the stuff that I have stashed in my garage that haven't seen the light of day in quite some time. The brushes I'm using, as you can see, these are some really old beat up brushes I had laying around. I cannot find my good brushes and I'm worried I might have given away in a KonMari cleanup. So these are what I have found around, but I think it's awesome because it's going to show you exactly what you can do with just some really crummy brushes that you might have lying around. Here are the colors. I'm using light blue, cerulean blue, quinacridone red, yellow ochre, and white. So that's really the limited palette. And I'm going to use this old watercolor painting thing that I probably had since college. So this thing's probably eons old. You can use a paper plate. I'm just using this because I really don't care how damaged or used up it gets. So I'm using things that you'll have found around. So I'm just going to put the paint in the palette and get things going. So some additional things you'll need is just a little glass of water. I have this little can here of water. Nothing spectacular. You could use a plastic cup or any other cup. Acrylic paints are pretty easy. You just need water. And I'm just going to make a mix of the light blue and the white to start off. And I'm going to add some water to give it a little bit more, to thin it out a little bit and then let it spread out evenly across the paper. You can get thicker later on, but right now I want the paint to be thinned out and have a little bit more legs to it. So then just go ahead and paint on the paper. This paper is just some mixed media paper I had that I found. So when I paint these, you're going to notice I'm using my whole arm to get these like kind of long strokes. I'm going to jump around the paper. You don't have to follow my patterns. But the key is to kind of make a big block of paint in one area, then move to the other area, and then maybe alternate from going up and down to across the page like I did there. Then, once you have some blocks of colors, go ahead and take the darker blue, and I'm going to go ahead and start to mix those into the lighter blue points, adding some water, a slight bit of water to give it a little bit more legs, and just paint around my first blocks of colors just to kind of create some variance in the values. So now I have some darks and some lights and some midtones coming out. And don't worry about too much. You don't let this become precious. Just let it happen. Now I'm going to go ahead and use a bigger brush, and I'm using a big, old, dirty house paint brush. So it's nothing you got to go out to your local art store and go buy a special brush. The key is just using a different brush shape or brush size to give a little bit of variance. So then I'm going to get a medium-sized brush, and this is probably the cheapest brush I have, and you can see that my dog got a hold of it and chewed off the end. So I'm going to load this one up with some white, and then I'm going to start to lightly brush around the edges of some of these areas that I've already painted, kind of pull into those whites, into those blue areas to kind of get some sort of a light wash of white over some of the areas. Well, I'm going to get a smaller brush, another flat wash brush, and now I'm going to get some ochre. So instead of letting it blend, I'm going to just dip it straight into the paint and let it kind of do its thing without blending it too much and turning it into that muddy green that I experienced right away. So here I am going to take the quinacridone red, and then I'm going to use this big brush, and I'm going to put some paint down, and then I'm going to very lightly pull the brush over the page and kind of let that red kind of lightly blend into some of these blue and white areas. Same over here with the ochre. I'm going to let it blend into the ochre and the blue here on the top. You can do this too, but I'm turning my page around to kind of just get me to paint in a different way or look at areas differently. So instead of letting your paint feel like it's stuck in one configuration, just move it around. So now I'm going to go back to the light blue and just sort of fill in sort of the white areas that don't have any paint yet. And then lightly, it looks like I'm going to take a small brush and then stroke in some darker blue in some of these areas. In no time, I have this, what I think is a kind of an interesting wash of paint. And there you have it. We are done. Thanks for checking out my video. If you're interested in Illustrator, I have some videos there you can check out, or come on back for some future goodies I hope to have for you soon.